Are we losing our cultural identity?
They were looking out for each other. They were getting together. So they're getting all the laddu jalebiyan. We don't do that no more because we're all about the diabetes and stuff. Why do we not just call everyone auntie and uncle?
Your mum's been teaching you words that are in English, but in the Punjabi accent. I was like, oh. Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Bal.
And my name's Taj.
On this week's episode, we want to discuss. Do you like how I'm going like this a lot more?
I was just going to laugh. Go on, say what the topic is, and I was just thinking of something.
Okay, the topic for today's episode is: are we losing our cultural identity? Over to you.
And I was going to say, maybe I should have come out with an Indian suit on. So I went to France not too long ago, and it was really interesting because they were living how we were living, I would say, about 20, 30 years ago, which I loved, in the sense, not in slums or anything like that. We ever lived in the slums.
I'm going to have to talk to Emmanuel. Otherwise.
They were looking out for each other. They were getting together. They had that community
I thought
vibe.
you were going to have a negative. They're living in.
No, it was really positive. The community vibe. They were eating a lot of mithai.
Not positive, as we know. But we were listening, Desi diabetes.
But I did think that every time I saw another mithai box, I did think
Kabir was going to be like, oh, that's more sugar di bamari.
Yeah. But I just like the whole general feel of, we went around someone's house every evening to go and have a meal. Got a freebie the whole way through, which was
so that's actually the reason. That's the reason.
No, but it was amazing because it reminded me when we went to India as well, and how people used to get together, and that everyone really enjoyed the fact that you were there. Now, if you go to India,
But okay, can I say, when we went to India, don't think that it's like that now.
That's what I said.
Changed everywhere.
I'm not saying that I want people to stay where they are.
But you kind of are.
But I am, because I think it would be nice even if we'd done that here. Even my husband, he was like, no, it was nice. And he's not been in a family where it's constant people get together and big families, whereas we come from a big family, our cousins, we were always in their faces, they were all always in our faces, and we loved it.
It's all love, guys.
And we loved it because we went around their house at midnight, I remember, because mum and dad had to work, and they used to drop, not at midnight, but early hours in the morning, and they used to wake up to play with us in the morning, and it was really cool. But now you don't get that. Now it's like, oh my God, someone's coming round. And to be honest, we do that as well. It's not other people. Everyone does that. We do that as well. So where have we lost this community feel of, we want to be together, we want to give each other jalebiyan, mithaiyan, laddu? Where's it gone?
It's again Kavita telling us not to give everyone.
It's not so much that, it was the more just getting together. And have we lost our identity? Have we become so westernized we've forgotten where we're from and who we are? Or are we not even that anymore? Are we just creating our own identity?
Okay, so the other day I was thinking, I think way too much. I need to stop thinking.
It'd be good if you carried on doing some work, then we'd...
Hey, tu chop karke bethi raha. And I feel like I'm saying this quite a lot on every episode all of a sudden. Okay, so I was thinking, do you remember every Saturday everyone would come over?
Yeah, our cousins would come over, our aunts would come over, our Marcy and Masters, whatever, they would come over, and we'll talk about relationships as well in this, I think.
Okay, fine. And yeah, you're right. And that sort of stopped as well. I know, obviously, we got married, so moved over, so we didn't get the Sunday vibe anymore.
It didn't care that we were stopping in our lives for anything. It just didn't really matter, because Sunday was going to happen. We were going to chill, and we were just going to laugh about.
And we were just going to talk about everything. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And those were good times. And I think I was talking to my mother-in-law about this as well, and they had the same thing here. Like, they'd get together, and she always tells me stories about how they'd get together and, chuck all the kids into the car. And, illegally, because you wouldn't need to worry about seatbelts, because it didn't matter in those days. Safety was not an issue. Community was more important. Now, I agree. I think things have changed. And to be fair, even in the last few years, it's changed. And I think that a large part of it comes down to the specific people. There's certain people in our lives that will keep people together, and there's certain people that will keep people apart. Now, I'm not saying which is right and which is wrong, because sometimes it's all right to keep people apart as well. Don't get me wrong, because sometimes you don't want to get together with those people.
But then maybe that's what it is. In those times, you didn't pick and choose who you were going to be together with and who you were going to be apart from. You were there no matter, even if you didn't like. We loved the people that we were with, to be honest.
But okay, so this comes down to, because we're well aware that Marcy used to be the driver of, okay, let's all get together. We know that she was, and obviously when she
So
passed,
our mum's sister.
oh yeah, well, the non Asian speaking people or the non Punjabi speaking, because I'm pretty sure, isn't it Marcy in Hindi as well? But anyway, so she was a driving force, and then obviously when she passed away, we didn't do it as much, and and I think everyone would agree that that's the case. But it is tough. But you've said yourself, I mean, we're in the same situation. I know when someone says, and that's with anyone, whether it's family or friends, that they're going to come around, I'm like, oh shit, I need to clean up.
Well,
But
that is the first thing that I think. Oh
one of
God.
my friends did actually say the best way to get your house, the cleanest it's ever going to be, is to invite guests around. And I do agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, we had someone that came round yesterday, my front room, because we've got so many projects going on. I just dump everything in there, and it's been in there for months. And I've said I'm going to tidy it up, but I haven't. But yesterday, someone was going to come round. I done it in half an hour. Half an
It's
hour.
like that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it is the best way to invite a guest. But then it's the whole food, cleaning.
See, okay, can I just say, food is the one thing that I'm just like, oh, that's why I was at my friend's house actually, and some of us were standing there. I did say, I'm pretty antisocial. I will not invite you to my house because I don't like cooking. I'm going to be really honest. And we had a bit of a laugh about it. And now they all want to come around. I'm like, oh, all right, now I'll have to invite you all around, right? But it is the cooking aspect. I don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy it. Like,
See, at this point, I thought you were going to mention me, who made you a really lovely meal yesterday.
you did make, okay, so just to let the listeners know, I was in Swindon, and I just came for lunch. And I said, just make me a sandwich and we've got to do some work. Taj made me, what was it, what they call it, a shepherd's pie thing,
The vegetable one,
the
because
vegetable shepherd's
we're
pie.
healthy.
And this is for lunch. And I'm like, you didn't do any work, did you?
I knew you were going to say that. It's like, I can't win. I didn't want to feed you something cold.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure you ate. See, I have got that Indian element of me, as in when someone comes to my house, I've got to feed them till they're. I
Yeah.
can't help that.
And you had the orange chocolate as well. I'm like, this is good.
I was going to make some more food. I was going to make apple crumble, but I didn't have enough time.
I love apple crumble as well.
I know. But even that element of feeding, not that I'm saying you should overfeed, it was all healthy food, by the way. Even that element's gone, as in when someone used to come round, you used to give them food. And I do that. I expect people to do that when I come round as well.
No, I do agree. Like, I do still feed you.
No, you do.
That's all right then. That's
We
okay.
come round a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't, because we come round a lot.
Okay, let me just clarify. A few weeks ago, Sook was away. My daughter had hurt herself, so she was home from school, so she didn't go in that day. I did take her to the hospital that day. I collected you from the station.
I know.
I made you roti.
I know.
Right? And then I went and collected my son, whose school isn't close by the way. And then I obviously gave you the keys to shut up the shop, shut up the house whenever I was going to leave. So it's not as if I don't feed you. If you come to my house, I will feed you.
No, you do.
I will feed
You make
you
really nice food.
as well. Yeah, this is one thing actually. So this whole food thing, I'm quite open in saying I don't enjoy cooking. But it's not the fact that I don't make nice food. I make all right food. To be fair, like I'm not the best food, but you're full and you won't be like, so it's fine. You're good. Right? Is that right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
love your food.
Okay, good.
But okay, so what are the elements of our culture that we're losing? And why are we losing them?
I think time is a big aspect of it. I feel like life is just so busy.
But then are we saying that life wasn't busy when we were younger?
No. Do you know what? It's where you want to put your energy though, isn't it? Because there's people, there's listeners who will be spending a lot of time with their family and, are doing the things that we used to do. So it's where you want to put your energy.
So I said to
That just means that I don't want to put my energy in the family. That's also what that means.
but I was speaking to our relatives in France, and I go, watch, your kids are going to be like how we are in 20, 30 years' time. I'm looking at you how we used to be. It was almost like a time warp. And I go, your kids are going to be like where we are now, and they're like, yeah, probably. And you're going to lose that that connection that you've got
And it
from
is nice. That's
India,
nice to hear. Yeah.
because they're starting to visit India less and less because there's less family there, and
Mm.
we don't really visit at all, to be honest. So we haven't got that connection with our roots back home. So then you start losing that.
But why
Then
is it in France? So you've mentioned France. What is it about France? Why are they still?
because there's still people coming over from, it's like the new generation. I don't think they've been there for donkey's years. It was new generations that are coming over, like 30. No, they were about 40, 50.
But then that's what's happening here. So what's the difference?
But there's our older generation already settled. We've got quite a lot of people that settled back in whatever year they came
Also,
here.
people are starting to go to France rather than come to England, is what you're saying. So that is
Yeah.
that generation. Ah, okay, that's interesting.
So they're getting all the Lado jalebi on. We don't do that no more because we're all about the diabetes and stuff. It was funny because it was a case of, diabetes, blah, 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 and everyone was stuffing machai down there. It's really good to watch. Not that it's good to watch someone
So you
stuffing.
watched it, but you didn't have it yourself. Is that
We
what you're
didn't,
saying?
we didn't eat it ourselves, no.
Did you not? That's
No.
interesting.
But okay, so is this good for our children? Because back in the day, our parents would have gone for a salwar kameez outside, whereas we don't do that. Why don't we do that?
Do you know what? In the good old days, I used to be like, I'm a bit embarrassed to do it, but I think I'm the opposite now. I don't actually care.
I don't care either. My only issue
I feel
is the
like
nala. Putting the nala on. I hate it.
I
So,
was talking to one of my friends about this. Go on, carry on. I'll tell you what.
so I hate wearing the nala because you have to tie it up, and it's like a shoelace. You have to tie it up, but it's round your waist. That's to keep your salwar, so your trousers essentially up.
Yeah.
And I hate doing that up and undoing it. So now I'm going to start getting elastic in.
Okay, so this is what my friend said. They always
Why do our mums say you shouldn't do that?
they don't say we shouldn't do that. There's no reason. So I was talking to one of my friends, right? And well, two of them were standing there and they were just talking, and one of them was wearing a suit, and we were just talking about her suit. It was really nice. And she goes, "Yeah, it's elasticated." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, all my suits are elasticated." I was like, "I didn't know they do that."
So why is this a revelation?
I do know they do that because I do have a few suits that are elasticated, but I've never thought, hold on, why don't we just elasticate all of our suits?
Which reminds me, I've ordered some suits. I'm going to say, can you put elastic in them? Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, but they were like, both of them were like, you haven't elasticated your suits. I'm like, okay, cool.
So
Because
you're
it's really
back in the
interesting.
ages.
I feel like some of my friends feel like they need to teach me things. One of them, I know this sounds really bad considering we've got a podcast, but I didn't know how to get playlists on Spotify. So we were at her daughter's birthday and she was like, oh, wow. I was like, yeah, I know. So she taught me how to do it. So thank you very much for that. It's appreciated. Okay, going back to culture. What else?
Even the Nala thing is the cultural thing. We're saying get rid of that. Just put elastic bands.
It's just
Not
easier
elastic
though.
bands, elastic.
But when you need to go to the toilet, it's so tough. You got to hold your jumper up. I don't know if jumper is a real word, by the way. I think Mum made that one up. I was telling someone about the Darwin situation the other day.
Can you tell the listeners what we're talking about?
So when I was talking to my husband when we first got married, and I said, "Oh, can you give me the towel?" And he was like, "What's a towel?" I was like, "The towel." He goes,
Oh, man, get it.
"It's called a tolia." I'm like, "Oh," and he goes, "Your mum's been teaching you words that are in English, but in the Punjabi accent." I was like, "Oh." So then I had to go back to mum and say, "What other words have you been teaching us wrong?" But she doesn't know because she thinks they're in Punjabi already. I was telling, who was I telling? I feel like I told someone that the other
So
day.
are we losing our language as well because we're just
Oh my God, yeah, good point.
putting an
Mum
accent?
has made us lose our Punjabi.
So we're
It's
just
mum's
putting
fault.
an accent to it now.
Do you remember when we went to Spain? We went to Spain with I remember this. So we went to Spain with our mum, Mahane, and Marcy, and us cousins. And Mama started speaking in like English, but he thought it was Spanish because he
With the accent, with the Indian accent on
it
it.
was a Punjabi accent. So he was speaking English in Punjabi, but he thought it was Spanish. And we were like,
So funny.
and the person got it, so it's all good.
Okay, so talking about relationships. Now, one of the things my daughter said to me, I talk about my daughter a lot, she obviously asks too many questions, is why do we not just call everyone auntie and uncle. Now, my take on this is we've got a word for every relationship: masi, mustard, chachi, chacha. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's in Punjabi, but everyone's got their own version of that.
And we obviously use the G at the end because we're very respectful. That's another thing we need to discuss.
Yeah. So why? Okay, you answer it. Why do you think we've got so many different? Like, why isn't it just auntie and uncle?
Do you know what? You know, when you said we were going to talk about this part of the conversation, I was like, that's actually a really interesting. I've never thought about it. But because community is so important in the South Asian community, we've literally got a word for every single one because that person is so important. You need to, because the communities were so large and you'd get together and, you know, that's
Do you
why.
know what triggered me to think about that is because someone, when I, again, France, because it was a latest holiday, someone was calling me
Auntie.
Chachi. No, Chachi. And I didn't respond to it because obviously I'm not used to being called Chachi. I'm mommy. I'm this, I'm that. I'm loads of.
Like,
Nice. But I will respond to it because I'm listening for the, obviously, I know the voice. And then I know I'm automatic, like my brother, brother-in-law, sorry.
I was
He
going to say,
calls,
what things call you? He doesn't call you nothing.
no, my brother-in-law calls me Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I will respond, but it's more the voice that I'm responding to rather than, I know that that's our relationship and automatically,
Okay,
I will respond to anything.
Okay, let's carry on with that conversation actually, because this is a conversation we had before even I think it was before I got married actually. Where it's like, do you know what? It's important that when you get married, that your brother and sister-in-law, because I've got a brother and sister, and they call you Bobby, and they're really good like that. That they called you Bobby G. And I do remember when I first got married, I think it was my brother-in-law. He called me by name. I'm like, no, 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 no. You're going to call me Bobby. And I do agree, it is a respect thing, and it's quite nice. Like, it is quite respectful to call. Yeah, I think it's really
I think
important.
it's important to call someone Bobby because it.
Bobby G. They call me Bobby G because they say
Oh,
G
that's
here.
nice. You got a G. I can
Yeah.
get
Okay, so this is another part of it. We're used to calling our Marcy, Mama, and all the. We don't say G at the end of it, but when I got married, they do actually say G at the end of it, and I was like, oh my god, we're so disrespectful.
But the thing is, I noticed even more than that. We used to call our dad Daddy G, but we never called mum. We just called mum, and we called Baba G. We say it quickly, and then everyone thought we
Yeah,
would
you're
say
right.
Baba G. We say G, but we just said Bibi. So we were very sexist. All the men we had a G at the back of G, but we didn't have that for the women.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There we are. It's such a shame that Granny and Granddad have passed away because we could have gone back and said G to them.
No, we said it to Baba G to our granddad, but we didn't say it to our granny.
If anything, he was more like a friend. He probably would have preferred it like ba ba ba.
That also, again, that's that respect. You have that G at the end to have that respect. Hey, you're older than me, so I'm gonna listen to everything you say, kind of thing.
But I've also had the opposite as well experience where people have decided to stop calling me. And again, I won't go into a specific relation because there's been a bit of a Barney or something, and they've gone the opposite way, and I'm like, yeah, the relationship hasn't changed, but I didn't say anything because I don't want to create another fight.
But that's not right. You should say to them, no, I won't
Yeah, but
respond to that.
sometimes you just got to pick your
Your
battles,
battles.
and
No,
I don't have enough time. My voice went really funny there. I don't have time to have any battles anymore. I'm a very old woman now. Look at my white hair.
you're not
I'm
that
called
old.
auntie now, which kills me. It kills me every
Oh,
time.
yeah, but it's auntie to anyone that you haven't got a relationship with, because
Yeah.
that's just generally respect. But if it was someone in the family, but back in the day, you would no, but back in the day, you would have called them Mussy, like your mum's sister or something like that. It wouldn't have just been auntie. It's more westernized now that you call everyone auntie, whereas you would have figured out some sort of relationship
Yeah.
and given them that close name rather than auntie.
Okay, so I'm gonna reveal something, and I know.
It better be good because it sounds
No,
interesting.
it's more towards one of my friends. Because okay, I'm going to do it through this because I find it awkward saying it to her, so I'm going to say it on a podcast so other people can hear as well. But I think she'll know that I'm talking
Oh
to.
God, I don't even know if
She,
I want to be here.
her kids are lovely, and she says she calls her kids call me Marcy, but they're friends, and I'm like, but I find it really awkward, and I'm really sorry, that I haven't said this face to face to you, but I'm saying it on a podcast. But I find it really hard to get the kids to say Marcy, and I don't know why. I don't know why, because she's lovely. Like she wouldn't be my friend otherwise. But yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to her face to face about it. I don't know why I find it awkward, so I am sorry in advance to her. But I don't want her kids to stop calling me Marcy.
I want it, but I'm not giving it.
Yeah, but I find it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to her. She's good. We have good conversation, so she'll point me in the right direction.
All right, reining it back in, not making it too personal. So in the community, there's also this thing about you need to respect your elders, and you shouldn't answer back to them. Now, what is answering back? If someone's done something or said something wrong, we should be respectful, and we
Yeah.
shouldn't answer back. So should we just leave it as it is, not correct this person, or should we be like, no, gee, you need to learn. This ain't gonna work, love.
I don't know. Do you know what? That's a tough one because we know. Okay, so that's on the assumption that you're actually right. In your head, you're right. That doesn't make it you right, and that's not in all situations. Don't get me wrong. But this actually came in my head the other day, actually, and just again another random thought. So I was just leaving the house, and I remember when I had my little one, and Marcy was holding her. And I remember this, and she had quite heavy hands, so when she'd hit someone, she knew it was a proper. But I was like, Marcy, like, just be careful, short dear. And what she said to me, she goes, "Asivina nyane palia," and I was like, yeah, you're right, you're right.
Because we
Why
think
do I
we're
think?
right. You're right. Okay, I see where
Why
you're.
do I think that I'm right in saying that when I know you've brought us up? So it just occurred to me. So sometimes we think we're right, but we're not, and sometimes we've got to
That's a really good point, actually. So why do we think that we can bring up kids better, or is it because we want to do it our way and their way was wrong?
I think there's two sides of this. I think the first side is from a daughter-in-law's point of view, you don't want to put too much on the other person so that they can't turn around and I did everything for your kid, basically, right? Or there's the other part of actually I don't want them to have too much headache. Like I'll look after my child, and I don't want to give them too much headache. Whereas on the other side, the grandparents' side, again, there's two aspects of it. Oh, am I being have I just brought up my kids, now I'm having to bring up my grandkids? And that does happen, and it's a really good point that our generation has to think about, because that is sometimes, if that person is feeling that, then maybe it is unfair. They need to live their life, right? Or is it the other way? And I've heard this where their son and daughter-in-law might not be giving them more responsibility for whatever reason, like those two reasons that I said, and they think, oh, they just try and do it on purpose to keep that grandchild away from me. So there's two ways of looking at it, and sometimes because those conversations haven't happened, no one knows what the other person's point of view was. Was it to actually help you, or
Yeah,
was it to help yourself? And then on the other side, was it again to help yourself? Or do you see what I mean? Sometimes those conversations need to happen just to open up, raise awareness. And maybe that's a good thing for there we are. That was advice I wasn't planning to give.
that's really good.
I think so. Thank you.
So another thing, we're talking about in-laws and stuff like that. Quite a lot of people are moving away out of the in-laws' house and having their own. You
Can
want
we
to
go
go
back to that? Because you haven't actually answered
back?
whether we should be replying back to people that are, let's say the situation is that the older generation is wrong. Okay, because we've assumed that actually they're
I
right.
think you should reply back, but in a respectful way. Now, there was someone that was older, and they said the way that the person replied back was really rude, and it upset them. Now, I think that's wrong. I think you can reply back to someone, but in a polite, respectful way. Even if the person's wrong, they're still a human being at the end of the day. You should care about their feelings. You can try to educate. If they're not going to get it, they're not going to get it. So you don't need to be rude about it. You're making yourself look bad, and you're hurting the other person. If they're not going to budge, they're not going to budge.
Hmm.
Even if you say it the nice way or the horrible way, you said it, you've done your bit.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that on board. Thank you very much. Okay, go on. What was your last bit? And this
So,
is
our generation, quite a lot of people nowadays are moving out of the house of the in-laws and living by themselves. Another cultural thing where we're changing again. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing?
okay. So I've actually got quite a lot to say on this subject this week, only because there's a social media post. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. There was a social media post, and it was by someone we worked with, and we've got a lot of respect for them. And It was a case of parents shouldn't be putting pressure on their kids to have to stay. There shouldn't be negativity about it. And I did reply on that social, and I don't always reply on social media, but I'm not 100% on board with that. Because my thing is, well, then who's going to look after the older generation? I just don't understand. I don't get it. Like, yeah, I get everyone saying we shouldn't be putting pressure on the kids because they should be living their lives. But if you need help,
that it should be part of their lives.
that is part of their lives. And why is that unfair? Like, when did we get to a point where we didn't give a shit about our parents? I don't understand. I just do not get. And I'm not saying there should be a guilt trip or anything like that. And if it's a negative thing, look, I don't live with my in-laws. I get on really well with them, but I don't live with them. So someone could turn around and say, "Well, you're not living with us," right? Which I get, but I did live with them for a number of years. And if it got to it, then that situation could change as well. But why are we saying that it's okay not to put pressure on your child? Not pressure. Let's not use the word pressure. Why not? Not pressure. How about have that conversation? Is there anything wrong with that conversation where you're like, actually, I think I do want you to look after me because I need help? What's wrong with that? That's not pressure. That's respect, surely. I did want this conversation. Go on,
Yeah,
Tad.
and quite a lot of people in our generation are doing that as well. They're saying that they don't want to, like you said, put pressure on their kids. But then we're molding these kids to be like that and not have that caring thing
Yeah.
about you should be looking after us. Whereas we looked after our grandparents, and I don't resent them for it.
No, I think we were so lucky and so blessed that we got to do that.
I
And
mean,
oh my God, I was like Granddad's favourite child,
yes, you were. I can't
right? And
not.
I know I remind you every so often. But yeah, like looking at those times when there was that language barrier, we'd have to go to appointments and things for it. Yes, it was a pain in the butt, and yes, having to wake up at midnight because there was health problems. Yeah, it was hard. But so what? Looking back, like I'm telling you, it was. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to do that.
I mean, now whenever I remember them and think about the things that they done, like our granddad jumping over the park fence because the gates got shut and stuff like that, I just remember all the happy stuff. All right, you'll have it was bad at this, but that is not what I remember the most. It's more the happy stuff that we done together.
I
And the
remember
fact
when I started my period,
yeah,
right? So I got home. I remember this. No, it must have been the time afterwards, but I used to have real pain. So I came home. And I'd fallen that day as well. And Granny and Grandad were the only ones home. And they were running around me like I sat on the sofa. Granny was getting tea with ghee in it, and they were running around trying to give me an apple. And like those are memories. Like, and those are the same things that we're saying, well, actually, no, you go live your life. Don't worry about us. I know this is me totally like a bit of a guilt trip, but I think we're missing something. I genuinely think and I saw a few of the replies, and I've got a lot of respect for the person that put it out, and I'm not totally against what he's saying, but it's a conversation. It's not a blank. No, we shouldn't do it. In fact, I might even invite him on to have that conversation.
that'd be interesting. Now I'm just thinking who it is.
Oh, it's Amit. It's Amit Kali, and
Oh, we love Amit.
yeah. So yeah, well, let's invite him on and have a conversation about that. I was going to float the idea with you actually. Okay, there we are, Amit. We have just invited you onto the podcast. We've probably already done it by the time this podcast has gone out. Actually, okay. What's your view before we wrap up?
I think before, when people used to live with each other, they used to just put up with things, and it was like the women obviously were suppressed and they couldn't say if their mother-in-law was being out of order to them. They just had to live with him. So in that respect, I think it's good that we've moved forward, that we can move out of homes and we respect each other's space.
Mm-hmm.
The bad thing of that, on the other hand, is that you're not getting that connection with the grandparents. You're not getting to build those stories that the memories that we built. But I understand why we're moving forward, because it's not just our generation that are like, no, we want to move out. It's the older generation as well saying, no, we want that peace and quiet at home. Like you said, we don't want to bring up your kids. You do your thing, we'll do ours, but we'll get together.
Do you think that okay? So I know that happens as well, but in that case, it goes back to that needs to be a conversation. What is it that you actually want?
I think if it's a case of, if, for example, the older person, they're having health issues and they need that support, I would say you should support that person. Obviously, there might be other stories, they might have been horrible to you and you might not want to. That's a given. But I mean, if the relationship's okay, it's never going to be perfect. that you should give that and provide that support. There's nothing wrong with it.
So why are we demonizing parents from even saying it? Why are we making it out of order? Oh my God, Amit, you need to come on this conversation because I think it was your post that really made me think about this. So we will get him on. Okay, all right. So let's wrap this. I feel like I've really wrapped up quickly now. I didn't mean to wrap up quickly. Sorry. I think we're on the same page on that one, to be fair. But I want to hear the other side of it because I think that's a real long conversation that we do need to have on a separate one. Okay. That's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.